Flamini,
Aye.
Thunderbird.
Aye.
Johnson.
Here.
Lopez.
Here.
McFarland.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Zimmers.
Here.
All present.
President's comments. Tonight I'm going to talk about, in the last week I have visited 3 elementary schools, Sandburg, Harvard Park, and Butler, and it wasn't surprising to me because I know how our schools work and what kind of timeline they're on, but all 3 schools talked about what we call formative assessments, that they were now working on it. I think this is always good to look at data, see where your students are, do assessments on them. So I was just really pleased that all 3 that I went to, they were all talking about it. It's something that they've made a priority. And so I just want to commend the schools for undertaking this. And I think we all know, this has been a process. Some schools have been at it longer than others. Some are a little farther ahead than others. But just the thought that everyone is thinking about it, doing these assessments so they know what they need to do for students, what interventions they need to do, how quickly they need to move with this or that. So I just wanted to do a shout out to these 3 schools I visited this week for doing a good job. All 3 of them are just, all of our schools do a good job, and they're all kind of unique. And the thing that I'm liking this year, because I know you guys, the cabinet, have been working real hard on it, it's about culture and environment, and you walk in and you can immediately feel a culture change and environment change in these buildings. So whatever you guys are doing, keep it up because it's working. Okay, so board salutes. Start that in, Mr. McFarland.
I want to salute the NAACP and Southeast High School and everyone involved in the community forum on Thursday. Another good turnout on that, good discussion. I'm hoping that we can now take the discussions from these last 2 town halls and start making some action items moving forward.
Great. I have a couple salutes. First, I wanted to salute Principal Jim Hayes at Harvard Park School. He has a program that he started called Help Us, Help You program, and it's for parents to give them some strategies to help get their students to school on time or to cut down on the truancy. And what really impressed me is that he is using his data to identify chronic absences. And in that, I don't know, some people may not know, but if your student has 9 days or more of unexcused absences, they're considered chronically absent. And, and you could possibly even go to court for that. So,
yeah, he was explaining that after the 9 days, you have to have an actual doctor's note or some sort of a valid reason for not being at school, which we all know as principals and administrators, but we informing the community and informing the parents even more that if it gets too far down the road, then you can be called into a hearing.
Right. Yeah. So it was good that the information was very straightforward and gave some good strategies for the parents. I also visited Washington Middle School, and I want to give a shout out for Principal Chris Barham because one, he's got this great reading program, the Million Word program, that's motivating students to read more, and their AVID program is incredibly vibrant. I couldn't believe all the students enrolled in their AVID program. But also, I just want to really commend Principal Barham for mentoring. He's chosen a group of students that he's mentoring personally, and again, data driven. He was looking at attendance, academics, and behavior, and he's identified 15 students that he's meeting on a weekly basis, and just the impact that he's going to have on those students, it's just going to be incredible. And in fact, he even showed me some results just within a short amount of time. He turned the student around who had several D's and F's to all C's and maybe 1 F. It was just incredible. And I just want to also mention that Washington Middle School is also looking for some community partners, some community businesses or other organizations that want to partner with their schools to help motivate the students. And I also want to go back to what Mr. Zimmers has mentioned in the past and just kind of reiterate to our members of our communities, people who live in our community, to go visit the schools. There's so much good happening, and a lot of wonderful programs, assisting the students. Just, go see for yourself. That's it.
Mr. Lopez? Ms. Johnson?
On Friday, I went to the Inc.
Inc. 186.
186 vocational training program. They had an open house there in a new facility, which is located at 19, help me out, what's the address? It's on Jefferson Street.
Yeah, it's on.
It's the old recreation building, and that has been remodeled over on the, it used to be in the area near the John Hay homes. And they gave a tour. They have, they work with students who have disabilities, and they do vocational training with them. And the remodeling was done very remarkably. They have a business entity in there that helps the program run.
The UCP.
And the UCP and the district have a partnership. And they do career training, work experience, and they have little projects like they make bags, they have little rocks, and they have a very vibrant T-shirt manufacturing program. And on Friday, they were working on T-shirts for our food service people, and apparently food services has ordered almost 700 shirts. And so it makes
The T-shirt for each day.
yeah. So it makes it the wonderful things that these children are able to do, leading them into careers. And one program, they have some federal contracts where they open mail and then they sort through it and they recycle the paper and they sell the paper in bundles to different locations. But if it's a federal contract, the students who are in the program, the work program, get paid. Very nice wages, whatever the contract calls for. So sometimes it's even more than minimum wage. And it's a good work experience. I encountered 3 young men that had graduated. I think 2 were from Southeast High School and 1 was from Springfield High School. They were graduates, but they're working in the program. And it was very impressive. So they're also having a program on Saturday, February 21st, 2015. But they welcome you to come through and to look and see how the program is operating. And I think it's eye-opening.
It's
what
actually
they do.
heartwarming. It's just really
And
good.
on top of all of that, it is it's a great experience. It doesn't take you very long to go through the building, but these are children that otherwise, who knows where they would be.
Well, I think Mr. Brott, who is our, spokesperson from District 186, he's a transitional specialist, and his goal is to find a transition program for every one of our students after they exit our program that have these types of needs and a need to have a program to work toward. But they learn the skill, but then their hope is that they can make connections with local businesses so that they're hireable in their businesses as well. So local screen printing shops and things of that nature. And I think 19 different organizations sell their note cards and the Lincoln Rocks and things like that around town. So it's spreading far throughout the community about the great things they're doing.
And aren't you having an open house also this Wednesday?
Yes.
Tomorrow.
There's a ribbon cutting ceremony.
Okay. Good.
And the training that's provided for these children, we can educate them till they're 21, but at 22, then what happens to them? So this is
Having that transition plan is
having
very
that
important.
transition to make them productive citizens in the society, which we ought to think about for all of our students. I also participated in the forum at Southeast High School on the race relations, and there is not another date scheduled as of this point, but I think that everyone should consider, and especially in the new year, being involved, at least if you don't come for the whole 2 hours, to come to participate for some point in time. And since I still have the floor, I would suggest to the media that's here. We talk about it all the time, and Mr. Zimmers is on it all the time about what good programs we have in this district. So if you're looking for a work assignment when you don't have anything else to do, you're looking for the bad stuff that we do, go look at the good stuff that we're doing in our programs.
Thanks, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Vanderburg?
Okay, I have one. Mrs. Morrison and Mrs. Boozer, listen up over there. I got a note from a parent, and I did ask his permission if I could read it, and he said it would be fine. It's very short. The note said, "I just wanted to let you know what a great choice Miss Jefferson is as the principal at Du Bois. My son had to spend time in the principal's office today. When I arrived at school, Miss Jefferson was at once patient, polite, and kind, none of which would have prompted me to write you. What did prompt this note was the aftermath. I carbon copied Miss J on my follow-up email to the teacher. Miss Jefferson answered me at 9 p.m. that evening. No one works a 13 or 14-hour day for what you're paying educators. This is a perfect example of above and beyond behavior that shows a devotion both to our students and our teachers that is a rare commodity." I thought that was a very kind note, and I'm glad that he let me share that. So please pass that along. I'm sorry she's not here to hear it.
Nice. Mr. Flamini? Okay, now we'll go on to discussion items, 4.1, old business. Any members have any old business they'd like to bring up? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to 4.2, new business. Anyone have any new business they'd like to bring up? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. There are no presentations to the board. And next would be business report 6.1, treasurer's report.
Mr. Basco?
President Zimmers, members of the board, the district ended the month of October with a cash balance of $32.1 million in the bank for all funds. Interest rates for the month averaged 0.012%. Interest for the month was $697. Interest year-to-date is $11,676. Schedule of investments is also attached, and we currently have a total of $23.9 million invested.
Any questions of Mr. Basco?
So is the state on time with their money so far?
No, we're behind on, state aid is on time, but all of our categoricals that were due end of September, we have not received.
I've got a little report on that I can give. Just do it now in this report. One of the things we wanted to discuss was the amount of money that comes from our state categoricals. The rumor has out there that we will miss, be guaranteed only 2 of those state categorical payments out of 4. There's a scheduled payment when the state is supposed to pay the school districts. The first payment was supposed to come in on September 30th, and we got a voucher. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Okay, which means they're going to pay us sometime, but we haven't gotten that money at this point in time. Last year, we waited until December 21st to get that first payment. The next payment's supposed to come on the 30th of December, and last year, we got it way into March. So you can see that we're always behind, and even if we are behind like that, if we're going to get them, we can use our line of credit and things of that nature to hold us over. But some of the rumor out there is we would only get 2 categorical payments this year with some of the different decisions that our legislature's making. So I wanted to make sure that people knew exactly what that would look like. One scheduled payment is $2,924,569. And that's for this payment that we're waiting for. We have received a $55,000 payment for our driver's education. We did get that one state categorical grant on time. But the other ones that are special needs services, special education personnel, transportation for regular and special students, there's 2 different categories there. And then also for our special education monies for our private facility fees, and also our Orphanage Act, which is students that are in foster care, wards of the state, in children's homes, things of that nature, all add up to that $2,924,000. So if we were to miss 2 payments this year, we would be missing over $5 million $904 across the board that we would be lacking for state payment. Our state aid total is a little over $12,061,270. So you can understand that the loss of state categorical payments would be devastating to our funding. Also, another question had been addressed by the board that falls into this category as well about pension cost shift. And we just wanted to just inform the board a little bit about what that might look like. For every 1% of cost shift that would come back to the district, possibly come back to the district with some of these conversations, that would be a little over $850,000, we think, per percent. Right now, the normal cost for pension, the normal amount that the state pays would be somewhere between 7 and 9%, depending on the formula that year and the number of employees, et cetera. So if we cost shifted pension back to the school district completely, that would be somewhere between $6 and $8 million. Now, what we're hearing is if that decision were to be made or tacked on to another bill of some sort, that might be prorated over 4 or 5 years, so we wouldn't get an initial hit overall, but still it would be devastating, especially in times when they're not paying us our full funding. They're only giving us 89% of GSA, which is general state aid, per student allocation, and then if they are going to not pay us our full state payments, you can see how that would be detrimental to our budget process and the operation of our system. So these are just some facts I wanted to bring to the board at this time. We've heard a lot about equity bills and things of that in the state, but also we need to keep the conversation alive about adequacy. If we're paying us at the 100% of what we're owed with general state aid, would help also in that, and not even considering the equity of property tax distribution across the state, which is what Senate Bill 16 is trying to do at this time, with which we would be a winner in that bill, but I think they're still working through all the details, and they're having a hearing tomorrow, I think, on Senate Bill 16 downtown.
I was actually going to point that out. I agree with you on the equity versus adequacy argument, but just so everyone knows, the SB 16, which would help us by the tune of $2.5 million, the first hearing is at the House tomorrow at 3
Yes.
o'clock. I was just looking at the witness slips. There are 683 pro witness slips and 863 con witness slips. So the cons are outnumbering the pros, which doesn't mean much in terms of a vote for the General Assembly, but we need to be out there more saying that this is good for District 186, because it is. Right now, there's only one 186 witness slip. So.
Okay, so, with District 186, we'd be benefiting with $2.5 million. But if the pension cost shift occurs, then we're pretty much losing anything that we've gained.
Oh,
Joe, I would
then
say
some.
that that's a yes on that, yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so, is there any discussion, Mrs. Johnson, is there any discussions being made about, putting some type of a clause in, within the bill that would cover, if the cost shift occurs, then, schools would be funded?
I think the expert is sitting behind you.
What's that?
Huh?
You.
I was just talking
Oh.
about a hearing.
Okay,
It's public record.
okay, I'm just,
Well, that's the grand plan, which is to cost shift that, so that that gets a big load off their back. Just
well,
really
it'd just be really
make us-
detrimental to
make-
us.
Well, sure. Whether it be detrimental to us than to them. So,
Yeah, okay.
hold on.
Mrs. Gill, thanks for bringing that information to us about the effect for this year if we miss those two payments. I know in the past, we have had some information developed about the cost of short-term borrowing, some of the emergency things we would have to do. Can you come
Right.
prepared to our next meeting to talk about that? We've got the
Sure.
line of credit,
Right.
but this would exceed.
Right,
that.
about, and Mr. Basco and I have had these conversations as well, and we feel that adding additional lines of credit wouldn't be the best fiscal responsibility. We could look at selling additional working cash bonds, we have some room, but it would just be something we'd have to bring to the board and have a little bit more understanding. So this is sort of informational for you at this point, and I think there's a lot to be seen in the next two sessions that come up, and then also in January. So it's just some facts that are out there that I wanted to share with you that have been shared with us. And this came from the two, only plan on two state payments came directly from the state superintendent to the superintendents at an IASA meeting.
So we can have some some options, if you would develop some information
Sure,
for us on
most definitely.
if we are hit on a short-term basis with cash shortage like that. Thank you.
The only thing I'll say is, remember, we're having a new governor installed in January. People and things will more than likely change. So it's hard to say where dollars are going to come from. And Senate Bill 16, they're having a hearing on it tomorrow. Who knows what'll happen to it? And if it doesn't get passed by the end of this current General Assembly, the process will have to start all over again. And remember, the bill is currently in the House of Representatives, and it is not going to pass the House in its current form. We're pretty sure of that. But I'm not the education expert. I'm a school board member. And I had a lady call me today, and she lives in suburban Cook, and she's not pleased that downstate is trying to take away their money and give it to our children, no matter how children get educated. So it's a complicated issue that's probably going to get more complicated before it gets solved.
And it's kind of hard to feel sorry for Collard County, Cook County, because they generate between $20,000 and $25,000 per student from property tax, and we're being made to feel that we're taking something away from them. We need to look out for ourselves in this and that downstate and do what's right for our students, because they're doing okay in Chicago.
There are some school districts that have more in their reserves than we have an operating budget per year.
Exactly.
Keep that in mind.
Remember, we are not the ones that are making the laws that come out of the legislature. We can hoop and holler and jump and scream and do whatever. All right, I've been in the legislature since they tried to pass equal rights when they were dropping pig blood in the rotunda. So, it's an ever-changing process.
What you're saying is true, but our voices need to be heard, though. That if we, are for it or against it.
I didn't say not one word about our voices not being heard.
Well, I mean, but what you implied, though, is that.
No, I didn't. And make the implication that did I make that implication that we should not say anything? I mean, I had a lady called me today, and if you had been on the other end of the conversation, as I was, and I sat there very patiently, even trying to somewhat interject personally that I am a school board member in downstate, and that our children deserve to have the right funding also, then you would see where I'm coming from. We need to make sure that all kids have access to a quality education. And by saying that statement, that means that we have to do our part as well as those in northern Illinois. But we will not distinguish between where the children live. That this is a grown-up fight, and we have to look out for children.
Okay, anything else from Mr. Basco? Okay, at this time, superintendent's report.
All right, well, I gave a portion of mine already. I had been asked by a board member to bring back some information regarding the exclusions that we had due to lack of shots or health records, and just kind of give a final report of where we are. At the last year on October 15th, we had 740 students out, as we know. And this year with our 10-day rule, we had 284 out on that 10th day. But in very short order, we were able to take care of 2/3 of those. So by the 5th, we were down to only 95 students, and those were cleaned up within the week coming after that. And as of 9/24, we had 2 students that were excluded, and they had just moved into the district, and their 10-day time format popped up. But as we have gone throughout, we've just had 1 or 2 here or there that we've had to exclude because they moved into the district late and were not in full compliance. About 20 of those students were students that fall under our physical and immunization requirements for the McKinney-Vento Act, and those students are not excluded because they're under that law, but we also work with them and got them in compliance very quickly. So with all of that being said, it was a very successful campaign, the Keeps Kids in School campaign. I know, Mr. Zimmers, you met with also Mrs. Baker and Mr. Sanders, worked very hard to work with that group and get this going, and so I think it was a success and something that can be applauded that we didn't have students out at that number. So are there any other questions from the board regarding that?
No, and I want to mention again, because we couldn't have done it without this, the medical community really stepped up big time in this. I mean, they spent many days helping us and giving immunizations and physicals, and we had 2 days each at Washington and Jefferson, and a Saturday at Springfield High, and then they opened up at Sangamon County Public Health the day where they did this, so we could have not have done this without their assistance.
All right. Mrs. Johnson, you brought to my attention the Firefighter Explorer program that is actually run here in the city, and they're having an information night tomorrow night, or Wednesday night, November 19th, from 7 until 8:30. And this is a program that distinctly is a gateway for students who are interested in maybe pursuing a career in the fire department. They work on things like team building, public speaking, interviewing, as well as getting numerous fire service related techniques and facts about that. And they also learn about organizing time and being on task in high school and the skills that you need to become a firefighter. That Explore program is meeting, the information meeting is meeting at the Children's Safety Village, and that's over by the UIS softball fields. It's back in that parking lot, or the Sassy soccer fields by UIS. The actual address is 4521 South 11th Street in Springfield here. So they really want the attendance at that meeting to be mandatory to get that program off. And so since it was so close to the date, I wanted to announce that tonight at the board meeting, because I think it would really benefit our students that are between the ages of 4 and 21. It's another example of how our community is reaching out and trying to provide a career path for students, giving them a vision of where they need to go and how they need to prepare themselves for certain types of careers. So I think we'll be hearing at some point too from some members of the fire department just to kind of give us an update about that program, so we know that that's another viable career building opportunity in the Springfield area. So thanks for bringing that to our attention, and we did follow through on that. It's going to be a great program. Our high schools have some information on their websites as well. Did some shout outs this week too. We had some other great programs happening in our schools. Matheny-Withrow students had a Mustang Shop with a Cop program, and that's their mascot out at Matheny. And so they were able to go to Walmart, but I just really wanted to give a nice shout out to the Springfield Police Department for purchasing and shopping for 50 of the students and families at Matheny-Withrow, and they received a coat, a pair of boots, hats and gloves. It was pretty timely for today's weather, I believe. And they also got a special toy or treat themselves and also purchase for their siblings at home, which I think is a cool way to kind of give back to your family and realize that it's not about you always getting something, but it's about purchasing something for a loved one and giving back to them. So I thought that was a great program. We had the swimming sectionals last week too. Southeast came in 7th place, but they had a great team this year. It was great to see some of the numbers come out from Southeast for the swim team. And then the Lady Senators placed 2nd in the swimming sectionals that were held in Edwardsville. 5 girls from the Springfield High School team will advance to the state meet, which is coming up this weekend in Evanston, Illinois. Also, there was a McChicken or McTeacher night at Lindsay Elementary School, where they got out and worked at one of the McDonald's here in the local areas. It was kind of a cool fundraiser, but also gets our kids out into the community and gets them coming in and having some good school culture as well around that. And then also, last but not least, I just wanted to say that Saturday was National School Board Member Day. And so I just wanted to thank, I don't know why they have it on a Saturday because of your day off, but just thank this board for working alongside me and working together and keeping me honest and working and pushing our system forward. I appreciate the amount of time that you're spending talking to our citizens of Springfield, getting into the schools, and then getting that communication back to me, because it's we're working really well together, and I really appreciate all the work that you do, because I know it's a non-paid position that you're out there working really hard and spending a lot of long hours on. So thank you for that. And that kind of concludes my superintendent's report tonight.
Any questions?
Any questions?
For Superintendent Gill? I did forget to mention one shout out a while ago, and I knew I was going to do this. I want to congratulate Springfield High boys soccer team. They placed third in the state. It's the first time that city school has been to the soccer finals, I think, since 1997. Rick, is that right?
96 came to mind. but
96. Okay.
Closer.
Well,
All right.
Well, I
So,
also-
great accomplishment. And it's a young team too. He's got a lot of young players on there. So
right.
yeah.
Well, in our fall, all state conference letters went out this weekend, and we have many students that have been really successful, and they've been made all conference, and that is that presentation is this Wednesday night out at Rochester. Is that 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock?
I think
7 o'clock at Rochester High School. So all of our students got personal letters asking them to attend that and congratulating them from their principal about their hard work.
Okay, at this time, I'll turn it back over to the Superintendent Gill. Consent action items 8.1 through 8.4.
President Zimber, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent action items 8.2 through 8.4 as described in the corresponding resolutions.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Funderburg.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes, the motion carries.
Okay, next will be roll call action items 9.1.
Mrs. Sherman?
President Zimmers and members of the board, the superintendent recommends adoption of the personnel recommendations with one change. Page 2, classified new hires, item 15. Effective date of hire should be November 10th, 2014.
Okay, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Do you have a list?
Okay, hearing none, we'll take roll.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Funderburg.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes, the motion carries.
Okay, 9.2, student discipline.
President Zimmers and members of the board, it is my recommendation that one 8th grade student be hereby expelled from further attendance at Franklin Middle School through the end of the 2014-15 school year with a program, and that one 9th grade student be hereby expelled from further attendance at Lanphier High School through the end of the 2014-15 school year with a program, that one 9th grade student be hereby expelled from further attendance at Springfield High School through the end of the 2014-15 school year with a program, and that one 12th grade student be hereby expelled from further attendance at Southeast High School through the end of the 2015-16 school year without a program.
Okay, motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll take roll.
Lopez.
Aye.
McFarland.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Funderburg.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes, the motion carries.
Okay, anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I have a thing before we leave. I think I've talked to you about it before, Superintendent, but I'd like to have a presentation from the social worker psychologist department, whoever handles those, on what their duties and functions are in the district.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so that's it for this evening. Thanks everyone for coming. The next regular meeting will be December 1st at 6:30 in the boardroom. Thanks everyone for coming.